Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on and finishing up Soap Bubble by Artistfingers. We are doing chapter 4 and this is the last chapter of this fic. And as of right now, I'm not sure when I'm recording the sequel, Surface Tension, but I will be recording it at some point. However, if you want to read it because you're, curious about it, please feel free. It's, part of the series, so if you go to the original work, you'll be able to see the next work in the series. After the first round, Kei largely tunes out of the game, or at least tries to. Iguchi's spin lands on him within a minute. Tsukishima-senpai, truth or dare?
Pass.
Kei drawls, swigging his beer to signal it. Drinking is easily the best option between subjecting himself to either verbal or physical humiliation and the whims of his teammates. Oh, you're boring, Nishinoya complains. Kei ignores him. Spin again, he says to Iguchi. The game is more fun as a spectator than it ever was as a participant. Most of the team has no qualms about making fools of themselves, which means they're a great form of entertainment. But despite sitting out, Kei still feels like a specimen under a microscope as the turns go around. Kageyama keeps giving him unsettled pointed looks, but Kei can't be bothered to figure out what he's trying to communicate. On top of that, Tadashi's puppy eyes are unrelenting, at least until they morph into more suggestive eyebrow wiggles. At that point, Kei thinks he'd prefer the guilt trip. Then, there's Hinata's secret glances. Honestly, they make Kageyama and Tadashi's weirdness insignificant. Kei's mood is still floating. Fuzzy and warm, his diaphragm a size too big, pumped with helium. It lilts and wheels every time he catches eyes with Hinata, like there's something actually in the air. There might as well be. Kei shrugs out of his team jacket, even though it's cool out, late into the night when the sunshine has long since burned off. He's been overwarm practically since he arrived, and it's not receding. Hinata's laugh rings out, and Kei turns his head to watch. It's been hard not to watch him throughout the game. He picks dare every time and performs each task at 100%, and he's animated even when he's not the center of attention. Like now, his head is thrown back and his mouth is open as he laughs. Kei missed whatever was so funny, but he doesn't care because the sight is reigniting that floaty sensation in his stomach. Kei had really kissed him, hadn't just imagined it. He tucks his chin into the elbow that's slung across his propped-up knee. For the first time tonight, he feels comfortable, happy, until Kageyama elbows him sharply in the ribs.
Ow, what the fuck?
Kei hisses, jolting away.
Don't smile like that,
Kageyama says.
It's creepy, says the king of scary grins.
Kei snaps.
They're only weird when I'm overthinking it,
Kageyama says, actually defensive.
Overthinking? Huh, didn't know that was possible.
Kei says,
I could have sworn your skull was empty. Oi, asshole, quit calling me dumb all the time.
Maybe I would if you hadn't replaced all of your common sense with volleyball.
Hey, I figured out your whole...
Don't you dare. Kageyama glares at Kei and then snaps his gaze away as he raises his voice.
Oi, Hinata.
What? Hinata hollers back. For a moment, Kei is petrified of what Kageyama's going to yell for the entire team to hear. But all Kageyama shouts is,
Switch spots with me.
Hinata pops to his feet, only remembering his game-mandated drink at the last second. He nearly spills it when he scoops it up and trots over. Why, Yama?
Why do you think?
Kageyama jerks his chin at Kei with one last scowl before he leaves.
Good riddance,
Kei tells Kageyama's back. Hinata crosses his feet and drops to sit. Suki, have you been antagonizing Kageyama? Kei squints at him.
Since when do you know the word antagonize?
Since, forever. Hinata pokes him in the arm. So?
He was insulting my face.
Hinata snorts a laugh that should be wholly unattractive, but somehow isn't.
I may have insulted his face back,
Kei admits, just to make Hinata laugh again, which he does.
And his brain.
He really is Bakayama sometimes, Hinata says.
Tell me about it.
Kei sighs.
I swear he's getting worse. Intentionally.
The next time Hinata nudges Kei's arm with his entire shoulder. Stop! Don't be mean. He's our friend.
According to who?
According to me.
I don't get a say?
Nope. Hinata pops the pea and hides another giggle behind his drink. Kei's inclined to keep arguing, but his heart isn't in it. No matter how infuriating Kageyama is, both on and off the court, he did just give Kei the perfect excuse to be near Hinata again. But he doesn't want an excuse. He wants a reason. There's a difference. And maybe it's Kei's own prickly exterior coming back to bite him, but any shift in his behavior invites comments that Kei would rather avoid. It's always been like that. In middle school, it had only taken a handful of teasing digs about the singular person Kei referred to with familiarity before Kei reverted to using Tadashi's last name around other people. He cares about how others see him, more than he wants to. In fact, he wouldn't be so preoccupied with the fleeting notion of being cool otherwise. He wants to fly under the radar and live his life easily. But Hinata cuts right through all and leaves no room for excuses. Maybe that's why he's wound up liking him so much.
Is this going to become a pattern?
Kei wonders aloud. What?
You just deciding things.
You're making it sound like I always act on impulse, Hinata protests.
Don't you?
Kei asks. No, I'll have you know I consider the things I do very carefully.
Could have fooled me tonight,
Kei said. Hinata snorts, taking the comment in stride. Could have fooled me too, honestly.
All right, give me an estimate. Actual percentages. How much of tonight was impulse, and how much was planned?
10% impulse? That throws Kei.
Really?
Really? Hinata says, leaning into his space. You'd better believe me. He's not any closer than he was during breakfast the other day, when he'd draped himself across the table in a transparent effort to inch closer, but now it feels different, overpowering, roaring like the roar of water past Kei's ears. Hinata's eyes are round, but his eyebrows are tilted. It's the kind of look he gets when he's on the court. Frozen and not sure how much Hinata is exaggerating, Kei can only exhale. Huh. Tsukishima! Someone yells from across the circle. Truth or
pass.
Kei cuts them off. He sneaks a glance at Hinata. He's relaxed again, and Kei can't really decipher the look that Hinata gives him before turning back to the game. Kei tunes it all out, closing his eyes, feeling something like the turning of the planet beneath him, an ebb and flow, like waves crashing against rocks, shaping them, molding the shoreline, the inevitability of progress. He's hyper-aware of the pulse in his throat and the close heat of Hinata. Eventually, the game dissolves into unstructured chatter. There's a soft rustling sound. Kei turns his head and finds Hinata pulling on Kei's team jacket. Kei, baffled, says nothing, even as Hinata snakes his left arm into the other sleeve and shrugs the whole thing on comfortably, all the while staring at Kei like he's waiting for a reaction.
It's big on him, but not as big as Kei would have imagined. Just long, falling over his hands even after he shoves the cuffs up. The bottom pulls around his waist until Hinata finds the hem and zips it up halfway. The sound of the metallic teeth is deafening to Kei's ears, even though it's objectively whisper quiet. He looks good in Kei's jacket, but Kei can't quite articulate how. It makes Kei want to reach out. Kei doesn't mean to lick his lips, but he does. Hinata huffs a smug laugh. "What are you doing?" Kei asks. "I'm cold," Hinata says. The press of Hinata's grin is sly and challenging, like he's daring Kei to ask for his jacket back. Kei doesn't want it back. He swallows once, then again, because the back of his throat is sticky. He can't maintain eye contact and instead holds out a hand for Hinata's wrist. Hinata gives it over easily. Kei is careful not to touch Hinata's skin as he folds up the cuff. "You're the one who showed up in shorts and a t-shirt," he mutters. "My other stuff is either dirty or wet." Hinata wrinkles his nose. "And whose fault is that?" "Narita's," Hinata answers immediately. "He basically dumped an entire bucket of water on me in the kitchen." Hinata secures his drink between his feet and holds out his other hand for Kei. Kei folds that cuff too. He says, "And what did you do to deserve that?" Hinata turns his head, muttering. Kei drops his wrist, glad to let go and regretting it in the same instant. "What was that, shrimp? You'll need to project so I can hear you from up here." "I said," Hinata says, turning back, "that I may have tried to pour dish soap on him." Kei had known there'd been a soap fight, but he still can't help but shake his head. "Why?" Hinata's ears turn pink. "He was saying that I think you and I are the only middle blockers on the team." "Because of how you introduced the first years?" Kei asks wryly. "You did seem a little preoccupied with me, you know. Someone might get the wrong idea." "It's no secret you're our best blocker, so that's all I meant," Hinata says. "And there's no wrong idea to get anyway." "Really?" Kei says. "No wrong idea?" "Just the right one," Hinata says simply. "The right one?" Kei repeats. Kei's heart is driving into overtime inside his chest. Wasn't this adrenaline supposed to be done with? He's already towed over the edge and leapt. The hard part is supposedly behind him. But it doesn't take much to realize that leaping isn't the same as hitting the ground. Part of him is still bracing for the inevitable impact, whatever it's going to be. It's ridiculous. They're only talking. While Hinata rubs the fabric of Kei's jacket between his fingers and looks at him with his face flushed and playful. Right. Normal. It's probably a bad idea to distract himself with the beer can in his hand again. He's had a lot more than he intended, and it's obvious in the words that keep slipping out, and the smiles he doesn't mean to wear, and well, there's no other word for it, making out with Hinata, and how much he wants to do it again. The heat in his face refuses to abate. "I don't get you," Kei mumbles. He plucks the bunched up fabric of his jacket at Hinata's side. "And I don't get this." "What's not to get?" Hinata asks. "Everything," Kei wants to say, but at the same time, he's starting to think Hinata's right. What's not to get? Hinata grins, then nudges Kei's knee with his own. "Hey, Suki?" "What?" Kei asks, preoccupied with the fact that Hinata keeps touching him. How many times has it been since he switched spots with Kageyama? 3 times? 4? It's not enough. "I think we're like beetles," Hinata says. That's such a non sequitur that Kei barks a laugh. Like beetles? How? Hinata laughs too. No reason. What do beetles have to do with anything? Everything, Hinata says, which explains nothing. Kei shakes his head. Are you trying to make me understand you less? If you don't get it, that's your problem, Hinata says. Kei is vaguely aware of someone increasing the volume of the music, but he doesn't think much of it until Hinata pushes himself to his feet. The first years are waving at me to go dance, he says. Wanna come? Didn't we go over this earlier? Kei shakes his head. No thanks. Your loss, Hinata says, and then he's gone. Kei ditches his drink and relocates back to the outskirts where he won't get tripped over, and tries to not watch Hinata too hard, which is impossible because it kind of is his loss. It looks like fun, even if it's uncoordinated and silly, and Kei is in the business of admitting things to himself now, and he would like to dance with Hinata. Maybe if there were less people, less of Tadashi's eyebrow wiggles and Kageyama's scowls. Kei thinks about leaving earlier, like he'd planned, but he doesn't. In the end, he stays until the party is declared over and the Bluetooth speaker is beeping low battery warnings. Azumane circles the party in search of whose phone is still connected to the speaker. Sawamura produces trash bags for the cleanup mission. Suga folds picnic blankets. Everyone finds a way to help. Kei himself has other duties to tackle, because at some point in the last half hour, Tadashi's stupid winking had turned into dozing. He finds Tadashi nodding off on a picnic blanket and crouches over him. Up, Kei demands. Time to go. He tries to winch him up by the arm. He's dead weight. This is fine. I'll sleep here, Tadashi mumbles. Okay, cool, Kei says and drops him. Tadashi squawks, instantly alert. He scrambles to sit. Hey! Good night, Kei says pointedly and turns away. Tadashi grumbles, dragging himself to his feet. No sympathy from Suki, huh? Kei relents and returns to brush dirt off Tadashi's sweater. Because he is a good friend. He owes Tadashi for badgering him into attending the party tonight, and he feels a bit guilty for how left out Tadashi initially seemed when it came to knowledge of Kei's who's kissed who entanglements. Then again, Tadashi got over it pretty quickly, so maybe he doesn't deserve Kei's guilt. All the same, the least Kei can do is get Tadashi back to the dorm in one piece. If that doesn't say reluctantly grateful, he doesn't know what would. But if he's grateful to Tadashi, that probably means Kageyama's earned it too. Arguably, Kageyama's done more with all his, well, Kei doesn't want to call it encouragement. Meddling is more accurate. Kei thinks Kageyama deserves a measure of karmic justice for all of the business he shouldn't have been sticking his nose in. He's not sure what Kageyama said to Hinata, or what Hinata said to Kageyama for that matter, but the nebulous shape of it all sets his teeth on edge. It's not like Kei asked Kageyama to keep his mouth shut, but it should have been implied. If Kei had thought ahead, he would have sworn Kageyama to secrecy. He thought he'd stopped letting life come at him from all angles, stopped passively letting it rush by him. Apparently, old habits die hard. But it's not like passivity was a choice of laziness or inaction. It had, in fact, taken quite a decent amount of effort to do very little in any given situation involving Hinata. Tadashi yawns and leans against him heavily. Kei lets him. Kei pats his back. How much did Tadashi drink? Maybe Kei should have been worried about him. Suki? Tadashi says. Yeah. Tadashi points. Is that your jacket Sho is wearing? Kei sighs And apparently it's all the confirmation Tadashi needs, because he starts snickering. It is, isn't it? Because I don't think anybody else wore their team jacket tonight. Kei steps away. Tadashi squeals when he nearly falls over. Maybe they're even after all. Sawamura declares all the trash has been collected, and Suga distributes lanterns before Inoshita begins herding everyone back to campus in a loose knot. Kei hangs in the back, idly wondering if the least sober of the group will have trouble hopping the fence. He's not above hoping someone falls on their face. What's the point of ill-advised drinking if you can't laugh at someone else's misery? He's granted one precious minute of solitude before Tadashi ambushes him. A lone deer separated from the pack, easy prey. "Suki!" he sings like a threat. "Yamaguchi," he acknowledges. "You have something to tell me." "No, I don't." "Lies! Lies and slander!" Kei hisses at his volume. It's going to draw attention, even if there are a few deer back. "You promised," Tadashi says, because he's evil, "to tell me about your first kiss." Ahead, Hinata jerks. Kei only sees because he's watching for it and looks over his shoulder. Kei glares at him, but Hinata just glances between him and Tadashi, eyes round. Tadashi catches Hinata too and raises both eyebrows. "Well, Suki, if you don't want to tell me, maybe I said I'd tell you." Kei cuts Tadashi off. "And what are you looking at, shrimp?" I'm just curious," Hinata squeaks. It's a good thing it's still dark. Kei knows both of them are undeniably red-faced. "About what?" Tanaka asks loudly. He turns around to see Kei's venomous glare and goes, "Ooh, not me. I don't care. I'm not curious at all." "Good," Kei grits out, "because I'm not saying a word to any of you." Tadashi cackles at his misery. "Come on, Suki." "Later," Kei mutters. Then, so he doesn't have to endure either Tadashi's pleading or guilt-tripping, he tacks on, "Please." "Okay," Tadashi says. His grin is unrepentant. "But the suspense is killing me." "Then it's working as intended. Go away." Against Kei's expectations, Tadashi actually does. Hinata, to the side of the path, hangs back to fill Tadashi's spot. Hope bleats a steady tune through Kei's chest. They haven't really talked, not directly, just around the matter. But if he's not supposed to get his hopes up, then why did Hinata kiss him? Pull on his jacket? Squish his eyes into crescents like they're the only two who are in on something? Kei tries not to hold his breath. "Hey." "Hi," Hinata replies brightly. "Did you have fun tonight?" Kei lets a little distance grow between them and the group before replying, gaze flickering to Tadashi as he stretches his arms over his head. "It had its moments." Hinata gets that secret little grin on his face. "More than one?" "At least 2. "Only 2? Shouldn't there be more?" "What are you, a referee?" Kei asks. In a way, it's like nothing has changed. Hinata still walks just an inch too close. His hand still brushes against Kei's, almost like a coincidence. But it's not. This time, when it sears into Kei's skin, he recognizes that the jolt of his heart wants more. This time, he realizes he can have more. Where the lines are, he doesn't know, but this much, a little touch, one that burns and lingers, is allowed. This much might be enough. They're far enough behind the rest of the group. Everyone is occupied, amusing themselves. He stretches his fingers out, nudging Hinata's knuckles. He's rewarded with a little hitch in the back of Hinata's throat. Bold, Kei draws a line along the ridge of all 4 knuckles, up and then down. Hinata's hand twitches closer. His skin is soft. The motion of the bones in his knuckles is simultaneously strong and delicate. So, that dare, Hinata says, soft and low. Is there a time limit?
Not really, Kei says. But if you take too long, I'll just assume you forfeit.
He draws his knuckles against Hinata's again. Hinata stretches his pointer finger out, and it takes Kei a moment to get what he's asking for. Linking his finger into Hinata's takes so much of Kei's attention that he almost misses Hinata's next question. What happens if I forfeit?
Rules of the game. You drink.
Drink what? We won't have beer, Hinata says. Maybe milk this time?
Not enough punishment.
Tomato juice?
Why tomato juice?
It's gross.
Okay, tomato juice then.
Kei agrees. Maybe he'd have a better comeback if Hinata wasn't gently swinging their hands by linking their fingers. Give me a hint, Hinata says. How should I surprise you?
Idiot,
Kei says, a bit strangled.
Just use your imagination.
Hinata's voice goes a little shy again, curving at the edges. How could I top what I've already done? By doing it again, Kei wants to say. What part, he doesn't know. All of it?
Just try,
he insists. How will I know you won't just pretend to be surprised?
If I have faith in anything, it's that I can't anticipate you,
Kei says. It's supposed to be dry, but it only sounds fond. Hinata giggles, pleased. Up ahead, somebody yells Hinata's name, and beside Kei, Hinata tenses. Something flashes across his face. Anxiety? And as several people turn around to locate Hinata, Tsukishima shifts away with the next step. The air between their hands is cold. Bruh! It was Tanaka calling back. There you are. Okay, we need your opinion. What's the best taiyaki filling? Hinata glances at Kei. Kei rolls his eyes, and Hinata takes that as cue enough to scamper back up to the group. The little grin Hinata leaves Kei with flashes a twisting warmth through his stomach, even though his hand is empty. Time passes. Kei is not a morning person. Years of volleyball training has forced him into a habit of getting up and being functional. But today is one of all too many days he wishes he could go right back to sleep. The incessant headache isn't helping. As if he needed a reminder that no, it's not a good idea to drink and then get next to no sleep, and then step outside where the world is very, very bright. Even the concrete seems overly reflective today. He squints and shades his eyes. Most of the team is in varying states of the same sort of hungover disgruntlement as the team loiters at the school gates for pickup, although the grads had gone home after securing the team in the dorms. This morning, the first years had left first, followed shortly by Narita and Kanoshita, and just now, Tanaka's sister had shown up in a flurry of noise and shouting, and then departed again with her brother, Nishinoya, and Inoshita packed into her car. Unfortunately, that's not the end of the noise. Hinata and Kageyama are competing to see who can jump onto the higher ledge, their energy levels cranked to the maximum like always. Kei's kind of relieved at how annoying it is. He started to wonder if he was losing his touch. Guys, Yachi says weakly, you're going to get hurt. She'd opted out of the drinking last night. Instead, she and Shimizu-senpai had their own get-together, which was probably a lot less chaotic. Now, she looks far better off than Kei currently feels. I'm not gonna get hurt. I'm being careful, Hinata protests. Even though he's talking to Yachi, he glances at Kei. He's been doing it all morning and stopped trying to be subtle about it, but Kei can't say he's been any better. Everything feels a little different in the daytime, almost more real and less real, like the bridge was a dream. Kei knows he's not cut out for relationships, or non-relationships, or whatever it is that's happening between himself and Hinata now. He has no idea what to do, let alone what Hinata might be expecting him to do. But their leaping around and yelling really isn't helping his pounding headache, so at least he can rely on his usual attitude to get him through things a little longer. Please learn volume control, Kei mutters. Some of us are suffering. Hinata's face immediately scrunches with worry, and he abandons the competition to trot over. Are you okay, Suki? Kei sighs. There goes his plan to stand around acting pissy. It's hard to pull off with Hinata standing close with his head tilted to the side like that. I need an ibuprofen, he mutters. Hinata pats his pockets as if a pain reliever might manifest. His face falls when it doesn't. Maybe Yachi has some. Oh, the med kit. It's fine. I'll get one at home. If you're sure. Oh, drink some water. Where's your water bottle? Kei gestures vaguely to where his bag is sitting, but more importantly, didn't you also drink? He asks. Why are you so awake? I only drank a little, Hinata says. You had more. Or maybe you're a lightweight. Kei can't help but pull a face. Me? You might be tall, but you also don't eat much, Hinata goes on. That affects how fast you metabolize stuff like alcohol. He grabs Kei's wrist. The skin-on-skin contact, an instant reminder of last night, of Hinata's hands, of his mouth, and... See? Hinata goes on like Kei isn't experiencing yet another crisis. I can fit my fingers all the way around your wrist. You don't get to comment on that, Kei mutters. Shrimp. He could pull away from Hinata's grip. It would be easy. He's not holding on that tight, but Kei finds he doesn't even want to. Hinata huffs, good-natured. He rubs the pad of his thumb over the jutting carpal bone of Kei's wrist before he pulls back. Either way, you should drink some water, he says. You might be dehydrated. Who made you an expert, Hinata? Kei asks, throat dry. Hinata rolls his eyes. You don't have to be an expert to drink enough water. He retrieves Kei's bag, pulls out his water bottle, and presses it into Kei's hand. Just to get Hinata off his case, Kei pops the top and drinks some water. Hinata smiles, satisfied. It's closer to the sleepy, moon-drenched one than the rambunctious, razor-edged one. Kei's heart stutters for what might be the 100th time, and he deals with it by fixing his gaze somewhere over top of Hinata's head. That backfires when Kageyama, leaning against the retaining wall, raises both eyebrows at him. Kei glares back. Tadashi moves past Kei's shoulder, nudging him. Akateru's here. Sure enough, Kei spots Akateru's car. Reddish-orange and older than either Akateru or Kei. It grinds to a halt at the curb and Akateru waves. I'll text you, or something. Kei mumbles to Hinata. He hoists his bag up by the strap and gestures with his bottle. Thanks. Don't forget! Hinata cups his hands around his mouth and shouts, despite how close they are. When Kei glares, he only wilts a little, but at least he looks properly chastised. Sorry! Idiot, Kei says, and pops the trunk. He and Tadashi toss their bags in the back, then slide into their seats. Kei is relieved to see his brother. It means he's officially done with camp. But Akateru immediately ruins it by saying, "You look exhausted."
Wow, thanks.
"How was camp? I hardly got to see you during Golden Week because of it."
It was good,
Kei says at length, not sure how else to balance out the extreme highs and lows of the past week. Beside him, Tadashi shifts and arches an eyebrow, grinning. Kei decides to ignore him. "You had a match, right? Yesterday morning?" Akateru asked. Kesanaiki Nishi was 1,000,000 years ago.
Yeah,
Kei says.
We lost 5 sets.
"Was it a good game at least?"
Kei snorts. Not really.
Because
it was shitty.
Akateru makes a growing show of sighing and turns to Tadashi for details. Tadashi is more than happy to fill him in on the game and the details of being a starter, practically giving a play-by-play. Akateru is appropriately awed and horrified in turns. Kei tunes the conversation out, dropping his forehead against the cool window. The world is still too bright, but at least the car is quiet. And the water helped, so his headache is starting to abate by the time they head to the house. Unfortunately, Tadashi has gone on to regale Akateru with tales of the Graz's visit, and the party, and the truth or dare, and
Yamaguchi,
Kei says sharply, sitting up to glare at him. "And," Tadashi goes on, despite Kei's warning, "we learned something interesting."
Don't make your next words something you'll regret,
Kei hisses. "You mean that you'll regret?"
Don't say something I'll make you regret.
"Suki!" Tadashi groans. "I'm dying here."
Invite me to the funeral.
"Actively dying," Tadashi says, tugging his seatbelt out and wilting against Kei. "Coughing, hacking, dying."
Shall we take a detour to the mortuary?
Kei asks dryly. "Aki." Tadashi makes a noise like an asphyxiating moose. Akateru laughs. Kei is quickly scrapping any plans of eventually thanking Tadashi for last night. He's annoying. At least before, he'd had an excuse. Everyone was a little tipsy, Tadashi especially, but Kei's not buying that today.
I said I would tell you later,
he mutters, shoving him off.
Twice. Did you forget?
No, Tadashi trails off, resorting to his patenting puppy dog look as he twists to look up at Kei.
You're impatient,
Kei accuses.
It's like you don't trust me.
Tadashi huffs. I wouldn't have to bug you if you'd talk to me like a real person. It stings a bit, but Kei has to acknowledge that Tadashi isn't making anything up. Kei may let Tadashi in more than anybody else, but that's not saying he lets him in completely. He always plays his cards close to the chest, and that's not a habit that changes overnight.
Fine, I get it,
Kei says.
Lay off.
Whatever this is about, I'm on Tadashi's side, Akateru declares, throwing the car into park.
Of course you would be,
Kei mutters. Traitor. Tadashi must have told Akateru he was coming over, because they've forgone stopping at the Yamaguchi household completely. Kei doesn't bother protesting when Tadashi follows him inside. It would be futile. As soon as Kei's bedroom door is closed, Tadashi turns on him expectantly, dropping his duffel bag by the foot of Kei's bed like he intends to stay put for a good while. He steadily ignores Tadashi's eager grin, even as it turns impatient. He drops off his bag and rummages around for the bottle of painkillers stashed in a desk drawer. Once unearthed, he swallows dry 2 and wordlessly offers some to Tadashi, who shakes his head. You're stalling, Suki, Tadashi says. Kei fits the cap back on the pill bottle and clacks it back and forth. Buying time is all he's been doing lately, but he's done with that.
So,
he says, and then stops. He doesn't really have the words for this. Everything that begins to form behind his teeth is just as quickly dismissed as surreal and laughable. The whole thing is a bit dreamlike. Every sensation that had burned so immediate, so insistent, now washing away under the ebb and flow of time and distance. There's also the fact that he and Hinata haven't really talked. Sure, there was the dare, which part of Kei is still cringing over, and when Hinata had taken his jacket and implied there was no wrong idea to get about him liking Kei, and the thing about beetles that Kei still can't find any logic in, and there was what's not to get, and something that wasn't quite holding hands. So, okay, they'd talked around it a lot. And also, obviously, Hinata had kissed him. Kei stares down at the painkillers in his hand and works the cap again. He can feel himself flushing just remembering it, which is stupid. That's the whole thing he's supposed to be telling Tadashi about. It's not a surprise. It's just kissing Hinata had simultaneously told Kei everything and nothing. Mostly, it told him he couldn't lie to himself anymore. And it told him Hinata liked him back. But how much? Enough to flirt and kiss him once? Or in the way that Kei likes him, in a gnawing want that thrums in his every breath and inspires a near painful impulse to touch, something he can hardly articulate and can't bend to his whims. Is it like that for Hinata too? Kissing is simple in comparison to after kissing. This is unknown territory. He's spent so much time trying to cling to what he was allowed to have, avoiding rocks that might be jagged on the bottom. Now, he's not sure what to do with anything that's balled up in his chest now that caution has been washed ashore. The mattress squeaks as Tadashi perches on the edge of it. He's quiet, just waiting for Kei to talk. He's patient when it really matters. Kei sighs, shakes his head, and drops the painkillers on his desk. Just for something to do with his hands, he unzips his bag and tosses dirty laundry into the hamper.
I don't really know where to start.
Just start at the beginning, Tadashi says, ever helpful. That's where most stories start.
Why are you so sure it's going to be a good story?
Kei asks, focusing on his busy work. It's you. You don't have a romantic bone in your body.
Who said anything about romance?
It was implied. Kei opens his mouth but hesitates. Romance? Implied? Was it? It's easy to remember the bridge with a rose-colored tint, but Hinata had, essentially, said he'd wanted his first kiss. Was it romance, or was it just that Kei was just there? Having admitted to Kageyama he liked Hinata, and Hinata heard that from him because the king thinks he knows what's best for everyone. And then knowing that, Hinata had an idea that of everyone around eligible for kissing, Kei would be the most likely to let him, because he likes him. Kei's stomach twists uncomfortably. Hinata's reckless. Kei likes that. Likes how his short-sightedness somehow morphs into bravery 9 times out of 10. Likes his ugly laugh and stupid onomatopoeias, but it's also scary. Each quality that Hinata has, that Kei himself lacks, that attracts Kei like crazy, also makes Hinata vastly unknowable. Even now, he shouldn't get his hopes up. He needs to be realistic. But what's realistic at this point? When the ground has shifted 2 inches to the left and he's abandoned the safety of his ledge and tossed his worn smooth fantasies away in favor of an actual taste. He wishes he knew.
It was really just a kiss, he says, half to himself.
I can't picture you kissing someone just for the sake of it, Tadashi says.
Kei shrugs. Well, I didn't initiate it. He pauses. At first.
What does that mean?
My first kiss was more like a first many kisses.
Many kisses? Tadashi repeats. Kei ducks his head and decides to just upend his dirty clothes all at once. Okay, let's back up, Tadashi says. When was this, anyway?
I already said recent.
How recent, Suki? Tadashi asks. Kei squints up at Tadashi. He crossed his legs and propped his chin on the heel of his hand. There's something sly and leading about the question. Kei doesn't like it. It feels like it would give away too much to say yesterday, to say last night. Last night still feels trapped in amber glass, a fragile bubble that could shatter if he looks too close. Kei pulls off his glasses to shove the heel of his palm over one eye, groaning. You know, Tadashi says, you never used to be interested in anybody. You said dating was gross.
In middle school.
Still, you went from there to having your first kiss be a first makeout. Tadashi sighs wistfully. Oh, how fast they grow up.
Shut up. I still don't care about all of that, as a general rule.
But, Tadashi prompts.
But I care now.
Kei mumbles. He cares, and it's possibly, no, definitely, too much. What changed? Tadashi asks, sounding genuine for the first time in the entire conversation. Everything. Kei kind of wants to admit. Nothing? He wants to deny.
Take a wild guess.
Don't make me guess. You're supposed to be telling me everything.
Well,
Kei braces himself to say more out loud than he has before.
I started liking someone, and I started to care about the rest of it.
Tadashi's close to laughing. Kei can see it in the way his grin is twitching. Someone, huh? He says. Now, who could that be? Kei's face prickles as it flushes, and he cuts his gaze to the side. Instead of looking at Tadashi, he speaks to his Triceratops skeleton poster.
It's Hinata, he says. I like Hinata.
Tadashi huffs. You said it like it was so hard to admit. Kei scowls.
It was.
Okay, but I already knew you like him, Tadashi says.
What?
Tadashi rolls his eyes.
Wait.
Kei cuts him off, shoving his glasses up onto his forehead so he can dig the heel of his hand into his eye socket. He'd heard enough from Kageyama.
Never mind. I don't want to know.
Do I really have to ask you point blank? Ugh, you're so difficult, Suki. Was Sho your first kiss? Kei feels dizzy.
What makes you think?
You like him, Tadashi says. It's an open secret that he likes you too. So, hearing it all out loud, laid out so simply, stutters warmth through Kei's chest. But an open secret? Kei is starting to get the idea that he's the one who's been behind. Tadashi bounces, making the springs in the mattress squeak. Suki, come on, am I right? I really am dying here. You haven't breathed a word of this to me. Your first kiss is a big deal, you know? I don't even know when or who or...
Fine, Kei says. Yes, it was Hinata. Last night, during the party, when we went for a walk, he kissed me, and I kissed him back. There. Happy.
And Tadashi, like the asshole he is, starts laughing. It's a full-body cackle that sends him tumbling backwards into the pillows. Kei stalks over and rips a pillow from under Tadashi's shoulder and hits him with it.
Shut up. I thought you wanted me to talk to you, not kick you out.
Recent, you said, Tadashi crows, flailing against Kei's weaponized pillow. Understatement of the century. If only I'd known. Kei whaps him again for good measure, but this time Tadashi catches the pillow and wrestles it away.
I hate you,
Kei says. Suki, Tadashi replies breathlessly. I'm really happy for you.
You have a funny way of showing it,
Kei grumbles. He sighs and sits next to Tadashi.
Why didn't you say anything?
Would you have wanted me to? Kei scoffs and answers immediately.
No.
There you go then, Tadashi says. But honestly, you scared me during Truth or Dare. I thought I'd maybe misread things, and I'd been misleading Sho, you know.
You'll need to clarify unless you want me to get another pillow.
Tadashi's still grinning, but he holds up his hands in surrender. We only talked once. It was earlier this week while you and Kageyama were doing dishes. He accused me of trying to wingman for him. Tadashi laughs at that, but Kei can't help but wrinkle his nose. Didn't you notice? Tadashi asks. I'm always leaving you two alone.
Yeah, but I didn't think much about it,
Kei admits.
You're always scheming.
Scheming?
Up to something. I figured you were just getting really dedicated to volleyball again, like when you did all that practice with Shimada last year.
Kei shrugs.
Or that it was like when you got really invested in everyone in our year being friends and started movie nights.
Well, two things can be true, Tadashi says. And if it had the added bonus of letting you and Sho spend time together... The thought strikes Kei, and he can't help but frown. He tugs on his fingers.
You didn't, push Hinata into this, did you? Because you knew we...
What? No way! Tadashi says. He was all ready to make a move. All I did was encourage him a little bit. Kei wars with himself momentarily about digging for more, but he admits to himself it probably didn't take much to encourage Hinata. He's pretty vocal about things he didn't want to do, something Kei has seen plenty of while wrangling Hinata to study properly, at least until he figured out the right balance of physical activity. Hinata's ability to concentrate on schoolwork increases dramatically if Kei caves and breaks their academic time into chunks interspersed with backyard volleyball. And at the bridge, it had only been the two of them. If Hinata had felt pressured in any way by Tadashi or anyone else, it's not like they'd even been there to see the results. And the only hesitance Kei had seen from him had been that moment of doubt after Hinata had kissed him, and he sighs. Tadashi tosses the previously weaponized pillow onto the floor and scoots over to Kei, throwing an arm around his shoulders. Hey, don't get all second-guessy on me, he says. If you don't believe me, ask Shouyou. But trust me, I said very little to him. Kei allows himself to sink into Tadashi's shoulder. It's steady and comforting.
So what did you say? He asks.
I said you guys were like Beatles, Tadashi replies cryptically. Kei just looks at him.
So that's where it came from? Because Hinata said that too, but he wouldn't explain it.
Well, I'm not going to explain it either, Tadashi says. But don't worry, it's a good thing. Begrudgingly, Kei accepts that.
When did you figure any of this out, anyway?
Tadashi hums, mulling it over. Well, the earliest... Oh, remember your birthday? When we had that surprise party for you at my house?
How could I forget?
Kei asks dryly.
You dragged me around all afternoon for no good reason. Then we finally got back to your place and I was ambushed.
It was just Hinata, Kageyama, and Yachi jumping out. Kei elbows Yamaguchi in the ribs, but there's no intent to harm behind it.
It actually startled me.
You had fun, Tadashi says, retaliating by poking Kei in the side. Come on, you know you did. You thanked me.
You can't prove that.
Can't I?
You and what record?
Tadashi laughs. My point is, Sho helped me plan that party. Originally, it was going to be the whole team, but Sho said that you'd hate that.
And he'd have been right.
Yeah, so that's why we had the casual thing the day before at Sakanoshita with the team, and the actual surprise was just the first year's.
Huh,
Kei says. It's kind of weird that was Hinata's idea. Kei knows him to be thoughtful when it comes to volleyball, sure, but he's thoughtful outside of it too, and he knows Kei. The realization is fizzy and warm. I thought it was interesting that he suggested the perfect thing. It was surprising he knew you that well, because here I was freaking out so much about setting up the perfect party that I missed the big picture. Anyways, I started paying a little more attention to you guys after that. Not that it took long to really figure it out, because he gave you that CD at the party and you both vanished, and I found you listening to it with him in my room. Kei's birthday was 6 months ago, but he remembers it tangibly. It was the second time he'd really been alone with Hinata. Kei huffs.
What was wrong with that? We were sitting multiple feet away from each other.
Come on, Suki. You have to admit it was still a little fishy, Tadashi says.
Kei clicks his tongue. Maybe it was a little different.
A little?
Fine, a lot. But I only did it because he looked so sad when he thought I didn't like the album,
Kei says. When Tadashi tilts his head, Kei goes on.
I didn't really react when he gave it to me. I basically saw him buy it, so it's not like a surprise.
He hesitates.
And I figured ignoring him would be easier than liking him.
Ah, yes, Tadashi says. Leopards really don't change their spots after all. Kei screws up his nose.
Obviously, I can't ignore him.
Tadashi laughs. Nope, he says. But, well, I didn't want to assume too much. Maybe you guys were just becoming friends, and, you know, friends can be like that. But things just kept adding up, and then there was Halloween. Kei groans.
What specific part of Halloween?
On the train? Tadashi grins. I saw that. Come on. Halloween. That was right after the Shiratori-Zawa match. Kei's right hand had been splinted and wrapped when the team piled onto a packed train headed to Sendai for a haunted house. Hinata had stood close. Just before their last stop, he'd gently touched the back of Kei's fingers and asked if the dislocation still hurt. And then he'd bailed out of the train. Kei had wondered what was going on until he saw Hinata and Kageyama in one of their usual post-race scuffles, and in light of that, was anything Hinata did really that weird? At least, that's what Kei had thought at the time. He kept doing stuff like that, so it was clear that he liked you, at least. I kind of thought it was one-sided, and then... Tadashi goes on, as if he's not inflicting Kei with memories he'd rather privately be embarrassed about forever. When he got sick at Nationals...
I didn't do anything then,
Kei says immediately. But you did. You made sure he had a pillow on the bus. When we got back, you were texting him to drink water.
While calling him an idiot.
That's just how you show love. That's when I was like, Oh, Suki cares. Like, cares. And then after that, you spent a ton of time helping him study for finals, and you stopped wearing your headphones when he was around at lunch and after practice, and basically just openly flirted.
I get it,
Kay hisses. He's mortified beyond belief.
Shut up. I get it. We were both really obvious. Fine.
It was cute, Tadashi says, as if that's reassuring.
I'm not cute.
Sure you're not, Tadashi says, patting him on the back. So, when did you realize you liked him, Suki? The conversation Kei had with Kageyama had been almost bittersweet. Kei had all but accepted that nothing was ever going to happen with Hinata, even if Hinata somehow liked him back in the same way Kei liked him. Talking to Tadashi now is different. Tadashi's teasing makes him want to bury himself in a hole, but at the same time, it's kind of fun. Maybe it's the relief of knowing it's not so one-sided as Kei had thought since he tried to convince himself. Maybe it's the fact that Tadashi, despite all of his ribbing, is unabashedly on Kei's side in this. Or the fact that Kageyama already mercilessly beat down the floodgates that Kei so meticulously constructed around this topic. Whatever it is, answering Tadashi is easier than before, though the words are still thick, slow, like a shaken bottle pouring molasses.
I've liked him for a really long time, he starts. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. I didn't want to like him.
Why not? Kei fixes Tadashi with a deadpan look.
Would you want to like him if you were me?
Tadashi purses his lips. I guess not, but only because you're so you.
Thanks, Tadashi.
Kei replies sarcastically.
Anyway, there was last summer. We all planned to go to the pool. You, me, Kageyama, and Hinata anyway. But only Hinata and I showed up. When it was just us, I couldn't ignore him. I couldn't just turn my attention to the other people. I kept noticing things about him. And I was like, well, shit. I'm in the deep end, aren't I?
Tadashi snorts. Literally.
Literally.
Kei sighs.
And after that, I couldn't really deny it to myself anymore. So I tried to not like him as much, which didn't work out either. And then I figured there's no way he'd like someone like me anyways. So...
Really? You never wondered if he liked you back? Kei can't help but tug on his fingers where they rest in his lap, but it doesn't do much to quell the anxious ball that squirms in his stomach.
He's that open with everyone. I tried not to think about it.
Tadashi's soft look says he understands much of what Kei isn't saying out loud. After all, he's had a front row seat to Kei's long history of underconfident lowballing. He doesn't flirt with everyone like that, though, Tadashi says. Didn't at least that make it obvious?
Tadashi,
Kei says gravely.
You two have nicknames for each other. He held Yachi's hand at the haunted house and during scary movies. He's practically glued to Kageyama's hip every day. And he fawns over every single volleyball player he crosses paths with. Why would I assume he liked me?
Tadashi raises both eyebrows. Okay, if not the flirting, maybe everything else about how he acts around you? Kei finally takes the opportunity to finally shove him away.
I mean it. It's not like he said anything. I couldn't assume.
Impossibly, Tadashi raises both eyebrows higher. Kei turns his head away sharply.
Does it matter? I know now.
Okay, as long as you do, Tadashi says. Okay, now, tell me about last night. Slowly, Kei retells the walk, and the bridge, and the kiss turned many kisses. Tadashi hangs on to each word, like the story is something special, like it's romantic. The more Kei talks, the easier it becomes. He finds himself laughing as he tells Tadashi about getting a little carried away and Hinata's breathless little wow afterwards. And now? Tadashi asks eagerly.
Now?
The reminder saps some of Kei's excitement.
We're just sort of back to normal.
Tadashi blinks. Really? It's a genuine question, but it makes Kei want to squirm.
What do you mean, really? He said he wanted his first kiss, and he kissed me. I don't know if he wants anything else.
Suki, you know you're my best friend, and I love you, right? Tadashi asks slowly. He has never had a problem saying stuff like that, but it still throws Kei off a little every time.
Yeah?
So, I'm saying this with all the affection I can muster, Tadashi says. But Suki, you're so dumb. Just ask him out. Kei frowns. For all that he's considered himself and Hinata until the rocky ideas were smooth and familiar, those stubborn words are still lodged somewhere behind his teeth. But after last night, how tangible every maybe was.
I could,
he says. Obviously you could, and obviously you should, Tadashi says. He finally slithers off Kei's bed. Now, don't talk to me until you have a boyfriend. I'm going home and I'm going back to sleep.
Good riddance,
Kei mutters. He gets the door while Tadashi retrieves his bag, but pauses before pulling it open.
Tadashi?
Tadashi flashes a grin over. Yeah? Kei smiles.
Thanks.
Tadashi beams. Anytime, Suki. Time passes. After walking Tadashi back, he wanders home slowly, relieved that his headache has faded despite the fact that the sun is bearing down like it wants to melt him specifically. A boyfriend, Tadashi had said, like it was just that easy. Kei pushes his tongue against the roof of his mouth. Maybe it will be. There's going to be an impact at the bottom of the jump. That's inevitable. But instead of cutting rocks, it could be warm, inviting water instead. He wants to stop looking for all the ways this could fall apart before it even starts. He wants to dive into the water and worry about the rocks later, or never, like Hinata does. That's kind of what Kageyama was trying to tell him in his own way, wasn't it? This time, remembering Kageyama's know-it-all attitude doesn't piss Kei off. He just feels fuzzy, excited but bottled, like a shaken can of soda. He makes it back to his front gate before he remembers the CD he'd reserved. One hand on the gate, he debates this new dilemma. Thankfully, it's easier to solve than the other debate at the forefront of his mind. If he goes inside, he won't muster up the motivation to get his CD until at least Tuesday. So that's settled. He shoves his keys in his pocket and turns around.
There's movement and a flash of color down the street.
Kei pauses and squints. It's Hinata, frozen and gaping like he's been caught red-handed. Kei only has a moment to register the fact that Hinata is here now before Hinata bolts around the corner. Kei takes off after him. Hinata may be faster at flat-out sprints, and Kei may be bone-tired, but his legs are long and this is his neighborhood. He cuts down a paved one-way street that's nothing more than an alley that overlooks fenced yards and open carports. He manages to beat Hinata onto the next road. Hinata nearly runs right into Kei and scrambles to avoid a collision with a strangled yell. He clutches something to his chest. "Shit, Suki! Sorry!" Kei pants, propping his hands on his knees. The sprint wasn't long, but it was intense, especially after the week's training, although now his heart is doing double time for an entirely different reason too. One that sounds suspiciously like boyfriend, 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 in a hopeful little staccato. Hinata's wearing the shorts and t-shirt he'd had last night, but then again, he had said everything else he'd brought was either dirty or wet. It's the same thing he'd worn when they'd made out. The same clothes he'd pulled Kei's jacket on over. Both thoughts send blood directly to Kei's face. He does a quick calculation, then realizes there hasn't been enough time for Hinata to bike home to change. Then bike back, just for whatever this is. "What are you doing here?" he manages to ask. Hinata's eyes ping back and forth, cataloging no helpful means of escape. There's a wooden fence, 2 cars, and telephone wires strung from poles, swinging over their heads. The alley Kei had dashed down goes one more block to their left and then dead ends, and Kei himself is blocking the sidewalk in the other direction. So unless Hinata wants to turn tail, he's got nowhere to go. If Kei knows him at all, that's never an option in Hinata's mind. "Hinata," Kei says. Hinata steels himself and shoves the thing he's holding towards Kei with a grin. "Surprise?" Tsukishima stares at him. He hadn't forgotten the dare he gave Hinata. How could he? But there wasn't a deadline on it. Typical of Hinata to accomplish his task early, and with a dash of dramatics. He looks down. It's a plastic carton of bright red strawberries, fresh and jewel perfect. This late in spring, they must have been hard to find. Not only is Hinata wearing last night's clothes, but his bike is missing too. Did he leave it at school? Or wherever he bought these strawberries? Maybe the market at the edge of his city? But if he'd left his bike on campus, how did he get there? And bike? The whole situation is ridiculous. A laugh starts somewhere in Kei's chest, but it comes out of his throat more like a wheeze, and as soon as he starts, he can't stop. Suki, are you okay?" Hinata asks, one hand hovering over Kei's back as if he's not quite bold enough to pat it. "No," Kei manages, then tries to correct. "Yes." But the damage is already done. Hinata looks torn. "I'm sorry. I was just..." Hinata gives up on the apology and tentatively pats Kei on the shoulder. That only makes Kei laugh harder. Hinata was so bold last night, in ways Kei can hardly even fathom, but now he looks stricken, like touching Kei will shatter them both to pieces. "I think I'm doing something wrong," Hinata mutters. "Shit." Kei finally wipes his face and straightens up, still huffing. "Hinata, you're fine." "Fine? Like, actually fine?" Hinata asks warily. "Or fine, like..." "Hinata." Kei cuts him off. "You got me." Hinata says, grinning slowly. "Yeah?" "Surprised me," Kei clarifies. "What made it so funny?" Hinata asks. Kei gestures at Hinata, the strawberries, the neighborhood, Hinata's shirt, at all of it, then just shakes his head. He's not sure how to articulate the sudden bubble of delight that has popped in his chest and spilled over. It wasn't the strawberries. It wasn't the dare. It was all Hinata. Well, Hinata and Tadashi at the back of his mind. Don't talk to me until you have a boyfriend. Regrettably, Kageyama's voice is there too, forcing Kei to realize he's making this more difficult than it needs to be.
Shooting yourself in the foot,
Kageyama had said. More than all of that, it's the fact that Kei wants that, and that he can have that. If Kei wasn't in deep before, well, this would just prove it all over again. But he can't find it within himself to be frustrated this time. He already knows his cheeks are going to hurt if he keeps smiling like this. Hinata holds out the carton again, and Kei accepts it this time and jerks his chin over his shoulder.
Walk with me.
Sure. They veer toward the main road, and Kei cracks open the plastic to pluck out a strawberry by the stem. When he bites in, it's sour-sweet, the flavor strong as it rolls over his tongue. Tiny seeds burst under his teeth. It's his favorite flavor, but all the same, it tastes like something new.
Did I ever tell you strawberries are my favorite?
Kei wonders, holding them out for Hinata to take one. Hinata shakes his head. You always pick strawberry stuff at Sakanoshita, though.
Huh.
Kei says.
I guess I do. I guess you were watching too.
Hinata eats half his strawberry in one bite. These are good! Kei thinks of Hinata's tongue stained popsicle red in the summer, and the way Hinata wets his lips when he's focused, during games and studying for exams and at the bridge. If Kei kissed him right now, he'd taste like strawberries.
Yeah. They're really good,
Kei says, distracted. They pass the carton back and forth as they walk, fingers brushing. It's a bolt of warm static each and every time. The carton is nearly empty by the time they reach the record shop. They duck under the sun-faded awning, and feeling bold, Kei holds up the last strawberry.
Want to share?
Hinata pauses in the middle of licking juice off his fingers. For a moment, he considers. Then, with a wicked grin, he pulls Kei's hand down, sticky sweet circling his wrist, to bite the strawberry in half. Kei eats the rest. His skin prickles where Hinata's fingers were. He feels like he was just beat at his own game, but he can't find it in himself to care. Why are we at the music store? Hinata asks. Kei tosses the empty carton into the trash and heads to the door.
I've got something to pick up.
Blackbird Records is one of Kei's favorite places. It's been open for as long as he can remember. Akateru used to bring him here on the way home from school, even though it's a bit out of the way. It's a small, crowded shop made up of dense shelves packed with everything from vinyl to tape. His favorite area is the vast selection of CDs that line the far wall. Kei speaks to the clerk, and she pulls out his reserved CD off the low shelf behind the counter. She rings him up, and when Kei turns around, Hinata isn't hovering near the door like he expected. A quick sweep reveals he's peering at the CDs, trailing his fingers along the spines. It's a little like deja vu, when Hinata and Yachi followed him here, ostensibly researching what to gift him for his birthday. Kei had shown Hinata the albums he was looking at and then left him to his own devices. Even then, ignoring Hinata had been nearly impossible. He'd found himself glancing back and been a little thrown off. He'd learned that Hinata was capable of being quiet, and he even looked content.
What else could he be?
Kei had wondered. Now, the midday light slanting through the windows is falling across his shoulders, warm and inviting, and he's grinning as he tilts his head to read the mix of Japanese and English on the spines. Kei's breath catches. Hinata glances over. In the sun, his eyes are a lighter brown than usual, clear. Kei averts his gaze, looking down at the cover on the disc he'd picked up, and steps over to Hinata. He works his thumb against the sharp corner of the case.
"Got what I came here for," he says. "Do you have anything going on this afternoon?"
"Not really. I told my mom I wouldn't be home until dinner."
Kei doesn't look up. "Want to come over? We could listen to this."
Hinata laughs. "Just promise me it's not gonna be weird music again."
Kei scoffs. "You said most of my music is weird. That's a quote."
"I said your weird music is weird. I like some of it."
"Well, this is just rock."
"Okay, but weird rock or regular rock?"
Rock.
"Last time I checked, that's not a genre."
"Oh, so now you're an expert?"
Kei asks.
"You thought J-rock meant jazz rock the first time I mentioned it."
"You said it was jazzy. How was I supposed to know?" Hinata complains.
"You'd know if you had any taste,"
Kei says dryly.
"Good thing you have me to show you what real music is."
"Well, an eye for an eye," Hinata laughs. "I'm going to show you what real manga is."
Kei snorts. "I don't read manga."
"And that's the problem, Suki. Everything you read is boring."
"And everything you read is made for kids."
Kei makes a show of eyeing Hinata's height.
"Can't say I'm surprised."
"I'll have you know that most manga are expressively not for kids." It's the kind of conversation he and Hinata have a lot these days, but...
"You're flirting,"
some part of Kei's mind supplies.
"That's what this is. You've been an active participant for months, you idiot."
But he can't manage to give much voice to even the most sardonic, critical part of himself when he's having this much fun. After all, just like last night, he feels light, floaty, helium in his limbs, tugging him beyond the place he's been cemented. Hinata insists on quizzing Kei, pulling out CDs at random. He's disappointed when Kei's musical knowledge only encompasses a small selection. They leave when Hinata starts getting louder. Kei's not about to let them both get kicked out of his favorite shop and eventually make it back to Kei's house. He pauses automatically by the front door, like he does when Hinata comes over to study. Hinata usually needs an extra moment to settle his bike near the wall, but today it's missing.
"Where'd you leave your bike?"
"Kageyama's place," Hinata says. "My overnight bag, too. I'll pick them up before I head home."
"Ah,"
Kei says. That explains a few things, but also opens up a few new questions. Namely, what Hinata and Kageyama have been gossiping about. He shakes his head and decides to let it go, because knowing those two, Kei will probably find out eventually.
"Well, come in, and don't shout. My brother is home."
"Oh, should we say hi?"
"No,"
Kei says curtly. Hinata laughs. Thankfully, Akateru's not in the living room. The house is quiet, and Kei wonders if Akateru's out. He leads Hinata upstairs to his room. It's only the second time Hinata has been there. When they study, they stick to the kitchen, or bumping volleyballs in the backyard. But just before spring break, when cramming any more was a moot point, Kei had taken Hinata upstairs. They'd listened to the album they'd never finished during Kei's birthday, and Hinata had doodled in his notebook, and Kei had tried not to watch him. 2 times feels like the beginning of a pattern. Kei likes that thought. But despite the relative unfamiliarity, Hinata sprawls easily across his floor before Kei can even move towards the stereo. "It's all catching up with me today," he says. "I'm so sore."
"I've been sore since day 2,
Kei says. "Weak."
"Freak."
Hinata huffs a laugh. "Doesn't that usually have volleyball attached at the front?"
"The general term still applies."
"Jerk," Hinata mumbles, but there's an air of laughter at the edges. Kei's stereo lives on his desk, always plugged in. He rips the plastic wrapping off the new CD and cracks the jewel case and hits play. Usually, Kei likes to flip through the included booklet and lyrics the first time he listens to a CD, even if he's heard the album before. But now, he leaves both on his desk and sits down next to Hinata where he's sprawled on the floor. Hinata sighs. There's one hand behind his neck, the other is splayed across his chest and stomach, rising and falling with his breathing. He wonders if he touched the delicate skin of Hinata's exposed wrist, what kind of pulse he'd feel there. They don't talk as the first song plays. Kei just looks at Hinata and he wants that too large feeling in his chest, stealing oxygen in his blood. He knows how to fix that.
"Hinata."
He doesn't open his eyes. Kei leans over him. Either Hinata hears him or feels his proximity because his eyes flicker behind his eyelids.
"Don't open your eyes,"
Kei says quickly. "Why?" Hinata breathes, but thankfully he listens.
"It makes this easier to say. I'm going to kiss you again."
Hinata grins. Kei sees it just before he makes good on his word. There's something different about kissing him in the daytime. Daylight stretches the room brightly, and the backs of Kei's eyelids are spiderwebbed in orange and red. It's soft and brief. Kei draws back so there's just an inch of space between them and exhales shakily.
Hinata blinks.
"What was that for?"
"Felt like it."
"You felt like it?" Hinata repeats, breathless and delighted. Kei pulls back a little further to look at Hinata fully. His face is all but glowing. Kei's stomach jolts. He has no idea what he did to make Hinata look at him like this, but he is.
"Felt like it,"
Kei says again, because that's all he can manage. "And now?" Hinata asks.
"I still feel like it,"
Kei whispers. "Wow," Hinata says. Kei shakes his head.
"You're stupid."
"You're stupid," Hinata fires back. Kei kisses him. Just like at the bridge, a few gentle kisses quickly melt into more when Hinata slants his chin up, which makes Kei tilt his head to the side, and just like that, the kiss deepens. Somehow, impossibly, this is better than last night. When Kei dares to sweep his tongue across the seam of Hinata's mouth, he finds that he does taste like strawberries, even if only faintly. The fact he'd predicted the flavor sends shivers down his spine, right into his toes, and he curls his fingers into the carpet like it can really ground him. It doesn't help. Hinata grabs 2 fistfuls of Kei's shirt and drags him down so suddenly that Kei's supporting arm fails.
"Careful,"
Kei snaps. "Come on," Hinata says. "Come here."
"You're so impatient."
"Wrong! I've been so patient," Hinata whines. "For days and weeks and months. Haven't I earned this?" Kei braces his forearm next to Hinata's head. His chest presses against Hinata's, and when Hinata shudders and inhales, Kei can directly feel the expansion of his ribs. Any thoughts of a snarky reply flee Kei's mind.
"Maybe,"
is all he says. But it's enough for Hinata to snake his hands up from Kei's shirt and tug his face back down. Songs melt one into the next, but Kei barely listens. The roaring heartbeat in his ears drowns out everything except the places where he's touching Hinata, because those burn like a fire he wants to memorize. But the album ends eventually, and in the ringing silence, Kei drops his forehead against Hinata's collarbone and listens to him instead. Their hearts are both pounding, and Hinata's breathing is rabbit quick. When he shifts, his hair tickles Kei's face. Kei sits up.
Hinata.
Hinata's head bobs and he blinks against the sunlight. It highlights his eyelashes red. Kei has finally worked those words loose. He pushes his tongue against the roof of his mouth and grins.
As much as it pains me to admit.
That's not a good start, Hinata interrupts.
Shut up.
Despite himself, Kei is grinning wider.
I don't know why, because you're awful, but I like you.
Wow, Suki likes something? Hinata's tone is light and teasing, but his eyes are round. I didn't know you could admit things like that. Kei swats his shoulder.
I like plenty of things. Music, history, volleyball, and you.
How long did it take you to admit any of that? Hinata asks.
Shut up. Go out with me.
Hinata's smile is brighter than the sun, louder than the adrenaline in Kei's ears. Suki, he says, I thought you'd never ask. Time passes. One new incoming SMS. The 10th of May, 2109, from Kageyama to you.
Hinata texted me. I have one thing to say.
Outgoing SMS. 10th of May, 2109, from you to Kageyama.
No, stop right there.
One new incoming SMS. 10th of May, 2110, from Kageyama to you.
Told you so.
Outgoing SMS, 10th of May, 2111, from you to Kageyama.
I also have one thing to say. Fuck you.
Outgoing SMS, 10th of May, 2111, from you to Kageyama.
And thanks.
One new incoming SMS, 10th of May, 2112, from Kageyama to you.
That was two things.
Outgoing SMS, 10th of May, 2112, from you to Kageyama.
I hate you.
All right, friends, we made it through. This chapter was such a long one. Oh my goodness. But oh my gosh, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really do like this fic so much. It's a good Tsukihina. And unfortunately, there's not a ton of Tsukihina out there, but this one is a really good one. And like I said, it does have like a sequel or whatever that will be coming on my channel eventually. Who knows when? But if you guys are interested in reading it, the link to this original fic will be in the description, and you can click on the next work, and it's the next fic in this series. There are only two. The next piece is called Surface Tension. But anyway, I have said before, I know I have, Tsukihina gives me a lot of that Kiribaku dynamic, and I don't know if that's why I like it. I know I love Grumpy Sunshine and like that Black Cat Golden Retriever, and they definitely give off that as well. So I really think that's part of why I enjoy them so much. But I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and I hope that you guys will come back and join me for my next series on the channel. The next one coming on the channel is going to be Notice Me Nerd by Useless Donut, and it is a Bakudeku. So anyone who is a Bakudeku fan, there's another Bakudeku coming on the channel. So if you guys join me for that, I'll see you next time. Most of the terrain is in Not terrain. Where the fuck did you get the word terrain from? You don't have to be an expert to drink enough water. What the hell sentence is that? Oh, that's why. Because I'm dumb and I can't read. I am not making a noise like an asphyxiating moose, just so you know. And stupid. Oh my god. Oh wait, I know what that word is. Ostensibly? Holy shit, that's a big word, dude. Outgoing SMF.